Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you've ever felt like the amount of online career advice is just, it's completely overwhelming.
A tidal wave.
Yeah, a tidal wave of, make money fast schemes and these really vague job titles, then you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're not just looking for the next big thing. We are analyzing a strategic blueprint, something someone actually designed to teach people about high-income online careers in the most effective and honest way possible.
That's a perfect way to put it. What we had here is basically the operating manual for creating, successful professional development content. And it's aimed right at the 2026 freelancer.
Okay.
It's this whole strategy, right? It's designed to maximize comprehension and to make sure every bit of information isn't just interesting, but you can actually use it right away. It's a shortcut, really, to being well-informed.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this source material, this highly structured blueprint. We're going to explore the super specific audience it's targeting, the really strict 6-point formula it has for every job, and the language they built in to make sure it's all crystal clear. Think of this as getting a real advantage. You'll understand not just the what of high-income work, but the strategic how.
In that strategic delivery, that's everything when you're talking to a global audience that's just desperate for good information. The structure is the value.
Okay, let's jump in. Let's start by defining the starting point. This blueprint has an incredibly sharp focus. Who is this actually for?
Yeah, the document is meticulous about its target demographic. And that focus, it tells you a lot about their whole strategy. They're aiming for 3 overlapping groups.
Okay.
First, English learners, specifically intermediate to upper intermediate. Second, people who are actively trying to make money online, so they're motivated. And third, young professionals and freelancers, people who already get the gig economy.
That combination is really interesting. So they aren't trying to teach, a raw technical skill to an expert. They're targeting ambition that's paired with language development. But why the specific focus on intermediate English speakers?
Because that's often where the highest earning potential gets unlocked. We think about it. You could be amazing at some digital skill. But if your English communication, the language of business, of contracts, is just conversational.
You're leaving money on the table.
A lot of money. The creators clearly see language, specifically business English, as a critical high-income lever. They're aiming right at that point where improving your language directly translates to a higher hourly rate.
That makes perfect sense. They're solving a pay gap problem that's really rooted in professional communication.
Right.
And the goals they lay out in this blueprint, they follow that mission perfectly. There are 4 of them, right?
4 core goals, yeah. And they balance that inspiration with some necessary realism.
So what's the first one?
Goal number 1 is exactly what we were just saying. Teach real business English vocabulary and expressions. It's not passive. It's an explicit goal. Then goal number 2 is where they build trust. It's provide practical and realistic income ideas.
And that word, realistic, they underline it again and again.
They do.
Which immediately sets them apart from, 90% of the other content out there. They want to be motivational, but they explicitly say, no fake promises.
Exactly. And that's goal 3. Be motivational but honest. And the 4th goal, it really addresses the usability for their audience. Keep the content simple, clear, and actionable.
Which is so important.
It is, because they know that for an intermediate English speaker trying to learn a technical idea, complexity is the enemy. You'll get cognitive overload, or worse, they'll just give up.
Let's stay on that business English point for a second, because it really feels like the core of the whole strategy. It suggests that having the technical skill, being a brilliant SEO specialist or a great copywriter, is only half the battle.
It is. The other half is mastering the specific formal language you need to find, discuss, and, negotiate those high-value contracts.
It's the professional currency.
Absolutely. Think about the difference in a client meeting. A conversationally fluent speaker might say, yeah, we should totally get this done quickly. It's clear, sure, but it sounds a little cheap.
Right.
But the high-income professional, the one who knows business English, says something like, we need to expedite this deliverable to optimize our deployment timeline.
And that second phrasing just immediately commands a higher price. It changes the perceived value of the expert right there.
It really does. The blueprint knows that high-income work isn't just about what you produce. It's about the professional presentation of what you produce.
Okay, so that brings us to the execution. Once they've got the audience and the goals, they have to build the content. And this is where the blueprint gets, extremely rigorous. It dictates a precise, standardized formula for presenting each of the 10 online job ideas. It's almost like a defense against information overload.
It really is. It's like a master class in teaching, put into action. The creators knew that if they just threw a paragraph of text at someone, that intermediate learner would struggle. They'd struggle to pull out the important data points, the salary, the future potential, that kind of thing.
So they made a checklist.
6-point checklist
Okay.
for every single job.
Yeah.
This structure, it gets rid of all the ambiguity and it forces the content creator to address all the learner's main worries up front.
I have to pause here and maybe challenge this a little. For the person making the content, having 6 specific data points for every single job, that seems like a huge amount of work. Doesn't that kind of structure prioritize complexity for the creator over just getting it done quickly?
It does. It definitely increases the creation time, but the strategy in the blueprint is that the quality of application is more important than the quantity of content.
Ah,
They're prioritizing the learner's ability to retain and act on the information over how easy it is to make the content. The value is in that structural guarantee.
okay, fair enough. So let's look at those 6 required components. Let's do it.
So for every single job idea, they have to include.
Component number 1, the job title. Simple, clear. Number 2, a simple explanation, and it has to be in easy English.
Right, so no struggling with the language.
Exactly.
Number 3, and this is where I think the strategy really shines, a specific prediction for why the job will grow in 2026. That's directly addressing the fear of, is this job going to disappear next year? It gives it context, it future-proofs it.
Precisely. And number 4, a potential realistic income range. We already talked about the honesty part, but this range also serves a psychological purpose. It lowers the perceived risk for someone starting out. When you know the realistic floor and ceiling, you can negotiate with confidence, not just wild guesses.
That builds so much authority. If I trust their numbers, I'm going to trust their advice. Okay, so what about the last 2 components?
Component 5 is key business English words or phrases related to that specific job.
So, an example. Sure, if the job is cloud infrastructure management, they have to provide terms like scalability, uptime, or migration strategy. Yeah. It immediately connects the tech skill back to the language goal.
And component 6 is the key to overcoming that inertia, that what do I do now feeling. It's one practical tip to start immediately. Is this usually a concrete tip, like go to this website, or is it more abstract?
The blueprint implies it has to be very concrete and immediate. It can't be something vague like start thinking about your brand.
Okay.
It has to be something like download the free version of specific software and complete this tutorial, or create your profile on platform X using these 5 keywords.
Yeah.
That last component turns the information from theory into an instant action. It proves the knowledge is applied knowledge.
This whole 6-part structure, it tells you everything about the strategy. It's designed to just remove every single point of friction for that motivated young professional.
Absolutely. The structure is the antidote to information paralysis.
When you have context, growth predictions, language tools, and a clear next step all delivered the same way every time, the information just moves faster from your brain into the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's pivot now to the linguistic guardrails they put up. Once that content framework is built, the blueprint focuses heavily on how the information should sound and read. This is our segment 3. What stylistic rules did they set?
This is where their focus on that intermediate English learner really shines through again. The tone is friendly and professional, which, you'd expect, but the delivery rules are non-negotiable. The communication has to use clear and simple English, strictly no slang, and use short sentences.
No slang and short sentences. I get the professional goal, but doesn't making the rules that strict risk making it all sound a bit, sterile?
Yeah.
Or academic?
That's a fair question. But if you think about their target audience, sterility is a much smaller risk than ambiguity.
Explain that.
Imagine a young freelancer trying to learn professional vocabulary. If the host uses some regional slang like saying something is fire or sus, the listener has to pause. They have to decode the slang before they can even process the career advice.
Right, that's cognitive overload, the very thing the blueprint is trying to prevent.
Exactly. The blueprint is engineered to stop ambiguity from causing misunderstanding. And short sentences help with processing, especially for audio. You can't have these long, winding clauses. It has to be punchy, clear, easy to remember.
So the lack of, let's say, conversational flair is actually a strategic trade-off.
It is. It's a trade-off for global accessibility and professional rigor. They're prioritizing precision as the path to a high income.
And what about that mandated vocabulary section? The blueprint requires a whole separate section for it right after the main content. Why not just embed the definition in the description itself?
That separation is a really crucial move. It formalizes the learning process. It signals to the listener that this vocabulary isn't just an extra, it's the main point, just disguised as career advice.
So it's the core learning objective.
Right. The section has to highlight 8 to 12 important business English words they just heard, and then explain each one in simple English with its own clear examples.
That structure really confirms that this thing is dual purpose. They're using the natural interest in finding a high-paying job to drive the mastery of professional language.
It's highly integrated learning. By creating that formal review section, they reinforce the exact linguistic tools, the jargon, the formal phrases that you'll need for networking, negotiating, all of it. They're making sure the professional language sticks.
Okay, let's look at the strategic wrap-up. Segment 4. The blueprint ends with a very direct call to action, right? It reinforces that dual mission of language practice and career planning.
The instructions are super simple and actionable. They're told to, subscribe for more structured information, to practice the specific vocabulary they just learned. And this is critical, to think about which of the 10 jobs really fits them best. It's a command to apply the knowledge, not just consume it and move on.
So if we step back and look at this whole blueprint, what does this highly structured, linguistically focused strategy tell someone who's trying to navigate the 2026 digital landscape? What are the key takeaways for that ambitious learner?
Well, if you are that motivated professional, what this document tells you is to stop chasing just generic job lists and start perfecting 3 specific things. First, targeted, structured knowledge. The blueprint proves that structure is everything for retention. Second, realistic financial expectations.
Get away from the 7-figure promises.
Exactly. Stick to grounded, honest income potential. And third, mastering specific professional language, that business English mandate we keep coming back to.
And that really is the new definition of value, isn't it, in this age of just information overload. The blueprint shows that successful content isn't just about facts. It's about the structure, the simplicity, and the application of those facts.
When it's simple, structured, and actionable, it cuts right through all the noise.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. The level of preparation and strategic thinking in this source material, it gives you, the listener, a huge advantage. You now understand not just what information is valuable for high-income work, but why it needs to be delivered in this very structured, linguistically precise way to actually work.
And understanding that architecture, the architecture of successful knowledge delivery, that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to consider. Given this blueprint's heavy reliance on pairing digital skills with mastering business English, what niche digital skill, maybe something so new it wasn't even on a list for 2026, when you pair that skill with crystal clear professional communication, we'll see the biggest unforeseen income growth when 2027 actually arrives. That's something for you to mull over.